Here today is Tuesday, October 7th, 2025, and this is the Conroe Heights City Council work session. We'll start with a review of our business meeting for this evening. Like always, we'll start with a pledge of allegiance. Councilor Newell, do you want to lead us?
Yeah.
We'll have a citizen comment period. And I'm still showing the landscape awards on the way.
Yeah, I remember.
Sorry, then let me actually go to my copy. So we will move, anyway, after citizen comment, we have two quarter or reports, or sorry, just one report. Unified Fire Authority. Assistant Chief Riley Pilgrim will be here to give us a report on that. And then we just have one single action item, which is consideration of resolution 2025-68 declaring certain property surplus. Chief, I imagine that falls under you, right?
It sure does. As you recall, we bought that Wonder Bread truck, several years ago and tried to outfit it as an emergency management truck, and the repair costs on that are a lot. We pay a lot of money every year just to try to keep it running. Doesn't get used a lot, doesn't have a restroom on it. It was okay for what we needed it for. It's time to sell it. Our plan is to sell it and commingle some other funds and start looking at trailers without an engine or transmission. So we have a big trailer with a restroom and all the things we need, including that Starlink system that we showed you last time. And that way we can hook up one of our existing trucks, pull that, and so we're not incurring the maintenance costs, and it's a better model. So we ask that we help us and let us surplus it. And I think Scott presented some numbers or some minimum bids that we plan to use KSL as the format.
Okay, great. Questions, council? Thanks, Chief. And then the last item is just approval of the consent calendar, which is the work session and business meeting minutes for September 16th, 2025. Okay, we'll move right on to our staff reports. So item A under staff reports is a Butlerville Day report. So we're excited to have Annette and Kate here with us. And so that one or both of you come on up and we'll let you present to us. We're excited to hear what you have to say.
You come sit here.
Thanks for having me. I had a Butlerville Day wrap-up meeting last week, and we kind of talked about a few things moving forward that we want to present today, and overall of what the event cost. So I'm going to share my screen here. Hopefully you can see that. So I'll go over all of this first, and then I have a couple of proposals. So the total expense, we start off with the event activity costs, which comes out of the culture department's budget, which was $130. The department salary, all department salary is $81,000. So we're talking police, public works, and any other employees that will be working at. So the total expense to the city is, well, to start off with, is $200,000, sorry.
So that's the day of the event.
That's for the whole thing. The whole thing is $211,000 for the whole thing. But but then we've got the revenue that we bring in. So we have the sponsors at $22,725, vendor fees, which include the food booths and the merchandise and craft vendors at 15,000, almost 16,000. Carnival is bringing in the 42,000, 469. So the total revenue that we bring into the event is 81,000. So breaking it down, and I break it down for me, so I know what I'm doing for the culture department's cost events. So it's costing us, taking the 130 and the revenue, it's costing us almost 49,000. Then when you're adding the salary with the event minus the revenue, the final cost of this is the 129,000, almost 130,000 for your final cost.
And how does the carnival revenue compare to previous years?
It every year has gone up. The previous year was 38,000.
Okay,
So every year we have had a little bit of an increase on that. Fine. Okay, so bringing all that to you, one of the things that I wanted to focus on, so I'm gonna go ahead and just stop sharing this, so.
So you remember last year, our financial report showed that we were, basically it was $25,000 to put on Butlerville Days, but it didn't include all of the department salaries. So now we could see it's costing us really $130,000 to put on Butlerville Days.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No, we're just talking about the total
Oh.
budget impact.
Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to do and meet with the committee was where can we cut costs? What can we manage that would help bring the cost of the event down moving forward? The biggest and the only impact that I can see besides what we've done in the past as a committee is possibly to reduce the hours for the salary for the employees. And the only way that I can see to do that would be the parade, is to change the parade around a little bit. So I talked with the committee and we discussed parade time changes and how that would affect the event. If we was to take the parade from 9 a.m. back to 5 p.m., we had it at 4 p.m. for a little while and then 3. To 5 p.m., it would reduce the employees' hours. Public Works, police, they would end up starting from 6 to 7 a.m. They would start from 2 to 3 p.m., which would give us an estimated of, again, this would just be an estimate of 25,000 to 30,000 on salary cost. So to bring that down enough to make a difference, that's what I'm trying to do, is not just take pennies from here and here, but actually to make a difference in what can we do as a committee. The committee also gave a few other ideas just to throw out there. They said potentially for the next year, skip the parade, don't do a parade. Listen to the public, see what their thoughts were. This would give us a savings of 50 to 60,000 if we didn't do a parade at all, because there would be no cost to quite a few things. Say the barricades, we wouldn't be going to other parades, which adds quite the cost. There would be no float cost. So that's why that number is so high.
tell me again, that number 60?
50 to 60,000.
50 to 60.
So the cost to obviously buy the float, have it made and have it at various parades, what is that singular cost? I'm just curious.
To buy the float has been 12,000.
But
But
that,
every other year we do it, we try and do it for 2 years. So it's 12,000 the first year, 6,000 the next. So 18, and then there's a storage fee if we have them store it, if they can do it inside. So, and that's
and then
1,200.
moving it around and the
And
associated
then, yes,
labor.
going to 10 parades altogether. And some of those parades nowadays are, some of the cities are requiring us to do anywhere from 3, I think it's probably 3 now, to 5 employees must attend those and guide it through there. So the cost on those have completely just increased. So
And that's in addition to the 18,000 every 2 years.
Yeah, well, it's, yeah, 18,000, yeah, for a 2-year span, yeah.
to
Yeah.
build the float, and
Yeah.
then all these other expenses.
So it's 18,000
related
for 2 years, because it's 12, then 6. And then on top of that, you have the full cost of going to the parades.
I thought you said in the meeting it was gonna be $20,000 for the new float. Is it going up?
What I've paid in the past, and I haven't talked to the float company yet, it hasn't opened up, what I've paid in the past is 12,000. And then,
Raising their prices, cause there's not that many builders anymore.
Yeah.
and they are going up because I think that company's the only one left. So they are going up in cost, but I do basic minimum, that they'll do it for me. But then they give me where the next year we can change a certain percent of it for 6,000, which helps us offset the cost of there. So next year, being that where the 50/60 comes from is we're going with the new flow, so it's the 12,000. So that's where a big chunk of that cost is there.
Got it.
So. The other thing is, maybe hold the parade, but maybe not do the float this year. So we're still having the parade, but we're not doing the float, so we're still saving the funds. The only funds that we wouldn't say, we wouldn't be going to all the other parades, which would save all the cost on the salaries on that. And then we would save the 12,000 this year. We would still have some cost on having a parade, barricades and things like that. So there would still be that. And then you still have, if we're doing it in the afternoon, the cost on, we wouldn't have, if we go in the morning, we're back to adding the 25,000-30,000. If we go in the afternoon, we'll save it. So is that cost effective in doing it that way?
Maybe we should march up Bengal Boulevard away from the setting sun or the afternoon sun. Can you imagine how brutal that would be? Well, to go into the sun for an hour.
Away from the sun
on
is
a.
good.
on a
It's right
July
now
day.
it's downhill. It's got a.
No, I get
Yeah,
that, and the
yeah.
sun's behind you because it's coming up in the sky.
Yeah.
I'm just selfishly thinking of everybody in the parade. What
Well,
that
there's a
would be
lot of
like.
feedback that I got with like, us having the parade so early is that nothing
Wonderful.
was open.
Oh,
So that the carnival rides, the things weren't open, they had to go home.
Yeah,
So that
people
was some of
wanted
the
to go.
feedback that I got was why isn't everything open so that while we're here, we can go and participate
For sure.
in the vendors and the carnival.
Mm.
So having a 5 o'clock alleviates that. It would
Yeah.
be pretty hot.
It'll be hot, but you're saving some funds. And then possibly be able to bring people into the park right after. Whereas they're watching it and they can just walk right in, or they can come into the park earlier, do some fun things like bingo right before, go over, grab some food and go watch the parade. So do we know which way? I don't know. It's.
It wasn't very popular at the meeting either, but the drone show and the fireworks show, $15,000, $16,000. It was at least thrown out there that maybe we only do one. And replace the drone show. Is it 15? The drone was 15 and the
Yeah.
fireworks was 16.
Wait,
Replace it with a movie in the park.
I'm
or
sorry,
something.
because I remember when we first approved the drone show, it was like $6,000.
That was their
They-
kind of price.
They
yeah.
gave us a deal, I remember, Ann, because we kind of used them and helped them get into the marketplace of working with these other cities, so they gave Ann a deal.
Yeah.
So now.
And then we got sponsorship for some of those, right?
Yeah,
So-
talking to the committee, they really don't want to take away from what they've built. I mean, the drone show was thrown out there, but again, that could go back into, when we start doing this in January, because they're very due diligent on how much money we have, what can we afford, we've done it every year. We have cut all the free things that we've done in the past, like free balloons, animals, free face painting, the watermelon. But when we're bringing something in, say this year we brought in the rock wall. They really evaluated, okay, we haven't had it for a while. What's the value in bringing that in versus face painting? And the committee said, yes, let's bring that in because we feel we're going to get more people participate with that. than face paint. So they really look at the value of what we're getting, how much it's gonna cost versus before we do it. They are very careful on how they do that. When I asked them, when we were getting ready to leave the meeting, I said, so drone show, float, movie in the park, I mean, and they said they would kill the float fast. They'd have no love for the float and the parade and stuff like that. And, they know that if we did the drone show, we're gonna have complaints. Because people love the drone show, that may not want fireworks, and then you got fireworks that. You've got two sets of different kind of people that love both. So that's kind of where.
Well, I will say what I said years ago when we first considered doing both. I think it should be one or the other, and what my constituents tell me is they're interested in the drone show and would just assume that we don't do the fireworks for a number of reasons. So I think it is a lot for our little city to put on these two extravaganza events. And I would favor releasing the firework thing and doing the drone show. Let that be the featured event.
They talked about that, but they all agreed that the fireworks, if they was to let go one, it would be the drone show and keep the fireworks.
Never had a single
It
person
was
say
overwhelming, yeah, I have
wanting
to
to
say it
throw
was overwhelming
fireworks.
in the
Yeah.
committee at least.
I mean, some of their personal feelings was, yeah, the same as yours, but they said overwhelmed, we have to think about the people that come.
Well, you know,
and
I
the
think
numbers
that
are.
when we talk about flash vote, we should take a survey and see what people in our city want. That to me would be a good survey question, because we think, and based on the people that we either hang around with or whatever, it would be interesting to know what the people in our city really do want. Would they prefer a drone show or fireworks?
So, I mean, those are good points. But I know that the committee, most members of them have been on it for a long time. And I really value what their thoughts are too.
Well, I value their thoughts as well.
Um,
I also think that we have flash vote now. We can ask that kind of survey question.
so those were some of their options, you know, I mean, they were really strong on, let's just not do a parade for a year and see what people think. But they also 100% supported moving it to the afternoon time to help with hours and that cost. The other proposal they had that I brought to them, and something that we haven't been able to do for years, is to change the date of the event to the week before, the July 16th, 17th, and 18th. The benefits of the reason why we've never been able to move it there is because we've had the musical in that place. And at this time, the Arts Council has agreed to maybe hold off on doing the musical for the near future, maybe focus on a arts festival, probably in June sometime, and see if they can build that and see where that might go. Rainbow is pretty impossible for them at their numbers and things, but so that being said, I was able to talk to them about the committee about moving it to the week before, and the benefits that have come out from that is employee impact, where the employees that would be able to get their holiday July 24th off and not have to work it and be paid holiday pay on top of overtime pay for that day. The Cottonwood Heights Rec Center, they've wanted that day, that week for many, many years. And so that would give their grass time to recover before Little League starts in. Also, they have a cost that they have to look at during the holiday week. It costs them a little more. The community's view was shift away from people thinking it's Pioneer Day event. And most people come really, even though we've tried to push it more as a city event, they really push back on that. So the other thing that I was looking into when I was thinking about this is the event has grown in size and numbers. We all seen it. One of the reasons is that most people, when they come that haven't been here before, is nothing else to do on July 24th. We are it. And back when, they built Butlerville Days, they put it together. One of the big things that Mayor Peterson and Mayor Colomar always told me, and Councilmember Scott Bracken, is, yeah, we built this because on that day, because there was nothing else going on. And so looking at that, moving it to that third week, Draper Days is happening that week, and Spanish Fork Steel Days is happening that weekend, which could help us in opening more opportunities for maybe everybody's not coming to this one, maybe they're going to a few other ones.
Oh, and question for you.
Yeah.
How reliant are we on attendance and ticket sales and when we have these rides? Meaning, if we were to do it a week earlier, and let's say that our numbers were to go down a little bit, there's still a fee that we have to pay for the rides and
No,
such,
we don't pay,
correct?
they pay us,
Okay,
everything. Mhm.
so do you think that that would change? Is there a rev share that happens with any of
Would
these
there be a
scenarios?
conflict with the carnival company?
No, the Carnival Company that we are in contract right now is open those dates, and they would actually
they don't
prefer those
conflict
dates
with
too. Yeah, they would prefer them. Yes, there could be. If our goal is to make full revenue, it would need to probably happen on the 24th. Would we get a small cut? I'm only presuming, but yes, because we're dispensing the crowd to other places. Now people get multiple choice. But then again, a lot of people go on vacation on the 24th, have missed it, and maybe they would end up coming. So for me to see it without actually having the event, but I know the police would probably, I can't speak for them, but bringing a number into it may help with security in that area. And that's what I was trying to help too, is the numbers that are coming. I love the big, I really do. I would love more people, but again, I need to look at it as being realistic and helpful to the city.
And did they look at all at Friday, Saturday and not doing Thursday
So we're in contract one more year for Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
with the carnival company?
Yes, with the Carnival Company. The one thing that I've explained to the committee is that Thursday, the reason they brought Thursday in was to bring a family night in so that they're not there for Friday and Saturday when you get some of the bigger crowds and some of the teenagers and younger people there. It was to help the small families come in, enjoy it, because there's only that going on. There's painting in the park and there's food. So it's very quiet. And we made that family affordable. So each ride is $2. So they don't have to buy a wristband. They can come and bring their 3-year-old, ride 2 rides and leave. And that period isn't too long. So that's why that was brought. The problem, one of my concerns by having not that night is it's mostly a revenue-based event. We already have everything in the park ready to go. I have to have it ready to go that night. So all my expenses that I put in there, the tables, chairs, fencing, it's all paid for. So my expenses have already done, but I may lose revenue by not having that Thursday. That's my worry, is losing the revenue that is brought in by those families.
So when we look at, I believe it was 52,000 on the, for the labor, for the, those who are, running this, it doesn't divide out a third, and a third for each day.
Yeah,
Like, that's what
I would have to sit down with them and see if they would hold, I'd have to talk to their accountant and see, okay, how much did you bring on here? How much did you bring on here? And that's something I could do this year, is to sit down with Browns and say, tell me what Thursday was. Tell me what Friday was. Tell me what Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, just weighing that against the costs of our police department and all our public works and all the different personnel that we pay for each day.
What we would, yes, so what we would lose, the thing about Thursday is just the salary personnel that's working that night. That's the part. Everything else that I have to bring in is already there. So we would have to look at how much is the revenue coming on Thursday versus how many people we're having the salary.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah.
that would be where we would be looking at to move forward or not.
We're not staffed as heavily on Thursday either.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah, that's what I meant by, it's not really a
Yeah.
third, a third, a
Minimal,
third,
yeah.
it's much less on
Saturday's a
Thursday.
huge day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because of the parade.
Yeah.
And the start of the parade.
so, the other, the other conflict, though, moving it to that, the conflict moving it to the third week is Draper Days. It has their parade at 9 a.m. So the decision would be that, if you still want the parade at 9, and we have a float, we're gonna probably get half the floats in the valley, because they're gonna choose which city they want to go to. If we don't have a float, it doesn't really, we're not gonna, if we do not have a float, then other cities may not come. That's just part of how
They return the favor.
they return the favor. Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
Some may say, yeah, we still want to
so,
go.
so it conflicts not only with the Sandy, their annual event, it also conflicts with
Draper.
Draper. If we
No,
move
just
a week
Draper,
early,
Straight.
Just only Draper.
Draper's,
Draper
yeah.
Days, okay,
Spanish work.
and Spanish.
I don't consider
Okay.
Spanish work a competitive.
No,
Yeah, so-
Spanish fork is, yeah, it doesn't really, we don't really
So strictly
lick it
Draper
down,
Days.
we just, it could draw some people that way.
Got it.
Draper Days does not have a carnival, correct?
Huh?
Draper Days doesn't have a
No.
carnival.
No.
I like moving it to the week earlier.
So do I.
We're one of the ones that usually has somewhere else to be on the 24th.
I don't see any drawback.
Yeah, I think it could actually increase our revenue.
Folks being here and being available and. I'm still stuck on the parade side and looking at this potential cost savings here. This is significant. We need to really dive into. Learning from our residents what that impact would be.
So one of the things that, when we had at 11, when we first started, it was so hot. That was the
Yeah,
major
it's,
complaint. And so 9 alleviated part of that. We move it back to 5, then you're talking,
Not to
people are
be-
complaining about heat again. But, maybe we do take a year off and just see,
Mhm.
I don't know.
I-
Maybe we, I don't know, sorry. go
No,
ahead.
no, I was gonna say, I agree. I think we can get a pretty good barometer, development barometer if we do not do maybe 1 year to kind of see what happens. The cost of us having to share, take our float all over the place. In my mind, it's just hard to justify, even though we know that they're gonna bring their floats here. How much of a negative impact would not having those other participants be? And that's part of that 40-something thousand, right?
For what now?
For if participants if they don't participate in our parade. That revenue, what is that revenue loss that we would receive?
If they don't come to our
Yeah, if
parade?
they don't come to our parade, if we didn't have the parade, they didn't come to it.
Oh,
said
if we
50 or
didn't
60
have a parade
say
at
50
all.
or 60,000,
So we would, yeah, so let me just give you a few figures for what.
say that 50-60,000. Plus whatever those folks were donating.
So,
I think that's.
yeah, the
probably lot.
parade,
It's included.
so if we don't, yeah, I don't have Public Works figures. They were kind of an estimate. But, you got the float, just the days of 47 registrations, $225. You have the barricades at 6,000. So when you get done, out of the events budget, it's 20,000 for me next year. But when you add you're gonna have 25,000 approximately for police to be there if you're going in the afternoon. If it's in the daytime, you're back up to, I think, about 30, 40, 35,000 in the morning. So, and then all the Public Works times, you can probably add another, I would say 5,000 to 8,000 into what they're doing, going places.
Has the committee talked about if we looked at this scenario and there was no parade, what could they do to enhance the Butlerville days with these funds or a portion of these funds? So that we are not just creating a gap, so that we have something to fill that gap where the parade was.
That would have to take back to the committee.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah, I'd have to see
What ideas, and things they have.
what the committee would do in that. It depends on how much money we're looking at saving. I think, I think an option is just not doing a float this year. still having the parade. In the evening and just gauge the residents of. Did they like it without? It's either Taylorsville or West Valley doesn't have a parade, or maybe both. I was gonna double check on that.
Taylorsville, they do Taylorsville Days. I'm pretty sure they have a big parade.
Okay, West Valley then.
Okay.
One of them went into, instead of a parade, they went to a 5K years ago, so that's why we don't go to either of those.
Okay.
But you could bring back face painting, the balloons, you could bring.
Yeah,
back some of
for
the
20,
fun
for,
things. If
yes,
you're
I could bring some of those
$60,000.
things in but then again, if I'm not gonna cut like the drone show, or if we cut the drone show, what I said, well, what if we bring movie in the park back? You know, it's those kind of things that, how much money do you want? Right now I've been spending 130 for the last 2 years. Do I want to spend 130 or do I want to spend 120? What do I want to cut? The also thing is that musical acts, they have gone way high. So, I mean, we've been begging and begging to bring, like, please do it for this much, please do it for this much for years now. So that's been getting harder. So every year, things have gone up a little bit. But yeah, to save that 20,000, it would depend. Do you want me to use it or do you want me to just save the money? So those are the things that I would take back to the committee and advice from you guys on how we're doing that.
I'm not looking necessarily at saving it. I mean, we're not looking to develop a 529 plan for us. I'd rather take those funds and do something that would help actually enhance what we're doing there at Butler Falls. And that's kind of the question I like to
Yeah,
ask.
yeah. I mean, they would definitely do that. If we was to just do the parade, no float, it would probably only cost your barricade 6,000, and I spent about 1,000 for candy, 7,000 for the parade itself,
That's significant.
which isn't,
Staffing.
which is actually minimal compared to how many people are watching it.
Yeah.
You mentioned the parade before, was it 5 a few years ago, right?
The what?
The parade was at 5.
We had it,
years
when I first started way back in 2011, it was at 4 o'clock. Went, and then, sometime after that, we bumped it to 3, and we bumped it to 11, and then we bumped it to 9.
How was the attendance for the 4? You remember?
It was pretty big because at that time we even had the bikes, and it started over at Butler Elementary and it went up the hill. And we had the bike part, the little kids bike decorating and things before, and then it was pretty heavily attended. It still was. Then, but 3 o'clock was just it was too hot, so that's why we tried for 11 to get that, to pull that off.
I'd love to hear what the committee thinks. Having had many families move into my neighborhood, it's really hard to connect. I mean, this is today's day and age, like a lot of people just aren't connecting the way they used to. And I have heard so many times from people that, they moved to Cottonwood Heights, they didn't really feel like they were part of something, which I think we all want everyone to feel like they're part of something. And when they would go to Butlerville Days, that was kind of the aha moment where they said, okay, this city is different, the city is unique. And they started seeing neighbors, and then they started having their kids play on the bounce houses, and then they started planning play dates. And I can't tell you how impactful Butlerville Days has been to connecting our neighbors with one another. So whatever we can do to strengthen the ability of those people to spend time, to connect and get out of their homes and get out of the normal routine, I want to do everything I can to preserve that. And so if the committee comes back and says, with that mission in mind, I think that a better use of these funds would be for X or X. I think I'm completely amenable to any of that, as long as it's towards the mission of connecting us as neighbors, that gets away from all the other stuff that we talk about and have, discussions with. This is really a fun, bring everyone together moment that is very rare in today's day and age.
It really is.
Well, I think the premise of this discussion has been, we thought it was costing us 25,000, it's costing us 130.
Yeah.
So if you want to still do it, and you just the council needs to understand that we're going in with a different cost structure than we thought.
Do you want
And-
some recommendations from us?
What I'd like to do, to move forward is, to work with the carnival and move forward with July 16th, 17th, and 18th this year. If we do that, then we have to make some decisions on the parade. Do they need to be made tonight? No. But we would have to, because we will be if we stayed at 9, it will be the same time as Draper Days. So that is the one issue that we would need to decide. What is it we want to do at the parade?
Well, I think
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Chair. I think I'm with Councilman Newell in saying, and I seem to sense a consensus that moving it to the 5 PM. Well, I think we still need to think about perhaps directionally, that's a conversation for another day in your committee. But to me, you know, insisting that we do it at 9 AM or even 11 AM for that matter, when it's costing the city an extra tens of thousands of dollars. I completely would agree with the committee that we need to be more
I think we have a consensus of
more
moving it to
frugal.
5. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, do
Plus, I don't
Then
want
go straight over the event afterwards.
So
Be great.
moving it to 5, and then we discuss if we're gonna have a float or not.
I
Later.
think I would be in favor of taking a year off from a float. I mean, do people care that Cottonwood Heights has a float in our parade?
I don't know, it's the one time that the 5 of the council are together and represent our community, so I'm a little bit.
We
conflicted
can
about
still
that.
walk in the parade. Just
Yeah.
I'll bring my flute and what musical instrument we'll make our own little band. We can really show off. No, but
I've put the council on golf carts before. I've put the council on back of a truck before, like a trailer,
Okay.
and decorated it with lawn chairs, and they thought that was hilarious.
well,
So
and I,
there's options, or we can try and find everyone a car. There's options.
well, the reciprocal thing of these other cities no longer coming to our parade if we don't go to their parade, I think will be impactful. But again, how much can we really afford? I think the fact that, you know, we're seeing that it's costing the city quite a bit of money. This, you know, all the numbers put together, we should be doing all we can to try some things. And I agree with the mayor.
I'll
I
be
think we should take
honest,
a year off.
out of all the years I've done this, I've only remembered a few of the other floats, what designs they were. I mean, once the parade's gone, I don't remember. And so the impact, personally, the impact of us going to another city, I don't know how much value it is. I don't, you know.
I don't think the cities would take offense either, that if we take a year off from having a float. If we have it, we'd want to go to their parades to support them, but if we don't, they don't understand.
Would you consider doing the parade from Butler Elementary and then turning on Bengal up to City Hall so that you at least have shade on half of the road for a good?
No, that's what we did before, and we moved it from there because we blocked more homes in on that. And then you have that hill that goes up, and little kids have the hardest time, and older people have that right in front of the rec center. And then we totally blocked the rec center in so they can't be used. But a lot more homes on that street and subdivisions are blocked and they can't get out. Whereas coming down this way, when we moved it down that way, we had so many more compliments. It was easy. It was a great walk. This is a better place to open. I mean, it was astonishing, and we didn't block as many people in. So those were the reasons we made those
I was
changes.
thinking about how well the shade and then how convenient it is to be right there where all the activities are. But you're well taken.
What if it ended at the entrance? That would be the south entrance into the rec center. What if the parade ended there as opposed to coming around all the
It
way to
wouldn't be long
Bengal?
enough. We wouldn't be able to get
If we
everybody.
started at Butler Elementary
Yeah,
and went to
that's-
Butler
yeah.
Middle,
Yeah,
yeah, that,
yeah,
have you measured that? Isn't that about 3/4 mile?
yeah.
To me, that would be flat and they would end at Butler
Think
Middle.
about that with your committee.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that was probably, take that back to your committee with it being 5 o'clock. Are there any remedies you can think of for the heat?
Oh, I think that's a good
Proximity.
suggestion. Butler
Sorry.
Elementary.
Two other things. I'd love an idea on what the reduction in the number of entries, if we don't have a float and then the other cities aren't returning the favor. Just kind of what that, I love the fact that my home can be cool or hot, so I love the HVAC companies, they're great and all, that do come to the parade. That being said, it is very traditional to have, you have these floats and you have Miss Pete City and you have these other things. I like that aspect of it. Just an idea of if we did get rid of those floats and it did turn into the other entries, just
There are,
what that would look like.
there are wards that still have floats, so they still might be coming. And they
Okay.
may come because of, they usually won't come when it's closer to the 24th because they're doing the big one.
Yeah.
And when, right after the 24th on days, they dismantle it, so we could possibly get a few more ward floats. Also, I would put more time and energy on finding more bands. There's bands out there that go to parades that you pay to come.
Oh.
Put some funds into, to bringing some more entertainment.
Okay.
We charge for an entry?
We don't,
Oh, we don't.
no.
Oh, it's free
This-
advertising. No
yeah.
wonder they're all effective.
Yeah.
This year was the first year we didn't have to beg anyone to come, and we filled up to 70-something people. We want to keep the parade exactly an hour, so we're gonna limit on, you know, if the numbers go way high, you know, just give residents the first choice
Yeah.
and.
Wait,
and
there were
stuff like that.
70 entries?
Something like that, yeah, yeah.
And
Wow.
I appreciate that though, because, you know, it is with a 8, 6 and 2-year-old, it is a lot of work, more than you'd think, right? On those summer days to haul them up there and get a spot and stay there and keep them entertained and make it worth the effort of doing all that. So if putting some other resources to make sure that it's an entertaining experience,
Yeah, I mean, there's.
I think that's cool.
There's like jugglers you can bring, there's people on bikes, there's a lot of things that can bring to it that you know, entertainment. So
Gotcha.
you have it staged as an entertaining, you know, aspect that we haven't really had funds to do. And we've gone through a couple of parade chairs to move into that. But not having them, that was one of the ideas that I've already considered to bring into it.
Cool.
And it's been hard to do it when it's the 24th because they're going to Salt
That's right.
Lake.
I thought the Brighton High School mountain biking
That was
club
cool.
was
Yeah.
very cool.
And was great.
Last year was the
It was
most
great.
I've
Yeah.
ever received from Brighton High School. I've never even
It
had
was
that
great.
since I've been here, the principal in it. Last year, we got the.
Well,
principal.
I,
So it was impressive on everybody they brought.
That
I
was
was really
cool.
excited.
yeah, let's-
Huge group of bikers too. That was fun.
Well, talk about unifying the city. I mean, I continually say how much I would like to see us interact more with Brighton High School and the other schools for that matter. I mean, maybe we could have some kind of contest for the elementary, middle and high schools to make an entry, have a presence, and they could make it a school project in the spring to put something together. That anyway, there's a lot of ideas that wouldn't cost the city, but
Mhm.
that would unify and bring people to the parade.
So, and the last thing that I had was just sponsorship. I know that we did a title sponsor and we worked together on that.
Mhm.
Were we in a good position when it came to sponsors? Do you think there's room to grow? Cause I'd be
Well,
happy to work with you to
I-
figure out.
I think,
how to get
yeah,
some
I would like
dollars.
to work with you. I think there's room to grow with you bringing that title because the event hasn't grown big enough until now that we can start bringing in those larger sums.
Mhm.
People now know Butlerville Days from everywhere, and so I think now we can start looking at a little more funding and not having the musical. I can start getting out more.
I've got some ideas that where I've seen this be successful and doing that title sponsor and even taking some of that branding and using it in advance. I think we could ask for more than what we actually
Yeah,
got, to be
yeah.
honest with you.
Could you let the committee know to come back with a recommendation on the drone or fireworks as well? We can make a decision as the council at a later date when you come back with that recommendation, but I would appreciate what they would do, whether they do both, eliminate one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna meet back in January and start going through the event, you know, piece by piece.
Okay.
So what I'd like to just move forward with is to get in contract with the carnival for that weekend. And then we all start looking at having a parade at 5. And I will not go in contract for float this year, right? We'll just hold off on that. Okay.
Did
then
you
I'll
make
hold
a
on.
calculation of cost savings by going the week earlier or no?
By going the week earlier, I mean,
Without
we would just.
holiday,
Yeah, there's no cost savings by going the week earlier. The only thing the benefit is we're not,
No holiday pay though, right?
yeah, the holiday pay and the rec center has some cost on their end for holiday
That
pay.
will go down as well.
Yeah, that will go down for them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Sam.
Thank
A lot of work.
Yeah,
So thank you.
she's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kate,
Really like that tie.
MK, yes, MK.
and your whole committee. Tell them we're very appreciative, just so you know. Everybody who volunteers their time is awesome.
Thanks.
So, thank you. Great, so we'll move on to item B, and so this is the general plan discussion that we started in our last meeting. And now we're gonna turn the time to Community and Economic Development Director Tim Spung, and we'll have a good discussion.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. So I don't have a PowerPoint or anything to review today. I did send out the staff memo with a series of questions to get you thinking before we got together today. I'd like to focus on the first half of the plan, so chapters 1 through 4, just so that it's a more palatable chunk of information. But we're certainly welcome to talk about any other elements of the general plan. So just as a brief overview, this project initially began in 2021, a few years ago, before a lot of us were here, and it's kind of resurrected earlier this year. So staff is really treating this draft as kind of a first take at the draft, because a lot of us haven't seen it before. So it is just that, a draft. And really the focus of today's discussion is going to be providing general feedback to the consultants, Landmark Design and a few other groups, so that they can further refine the draft and get it to a place that we're comfortable moving through the adoption process. So we're still early, however, kind of late in the project timeline. But I want to ensure that the City Council, the Planning Commission, the staff are all committed to the plan and cohesive in the vision that's articulated, and really just figuring out where in the plan there are holes, things that, policy wise, maybe you all don't agree with, or things that you do really love that we want to focus on. So I'll really just turn it over to you all and see if you have any initial comments, questions, concerns, things you want to talk more about, that's in the draft. And welcome to weigh
We
in.
had agreed that we were gonna at least tackle the community goals tonight.
Yeah, and I can pull those up here. Find that page.
I had a chance to listen to the planning commission meeting that was last week. They started going through this. And appreciate being able to see all the comments in the PDF. The shared document that was provided.
Zoom in here. So if you haven't already, I encourage you to go on to this, the link that was provided a while ago, to review the goals. Let me get my screen here.
It's pretty easy. You just highlight text and then there's a little comment box that pops up with an add addition sign. You click on that and you put your comment, or you can reply to a comment that's already there.
Options here. All right, so yeah, and here you can see on the right-hand side various comments from everybody, and you can respond to comments. And I think that the goal is to get everyone's comments captured, and then staff will go through and determine if there are any conflicts, differing views of opinion. And then when we come back in a few weeks, we can reconcile a lot of those things and come to consensus with the direction that we'd like to move. Let me zoom in here a little bit more so we can see. So this is from chapter 1, the introduction and overview. So these are more general community goals. And as it was mentioned in the staff report, a lot of these goals were a result of the public outreach efforts that were completed in the summer of 2021, which included a survey, a crowdsourcing mapping tool that people could interact with and provide comments, a community idea board, as well as a visual or vision confirmation survey. So there were also some committees that were consulted about these goals. So there was an effort to try to capture all of that stuff in these goals.
Was there a report that came out after those community meetings so we could see some of the comments and things that were actually submitted, so that I could actually tie the two together to see that they were incorporated?
Yeah, so I asked the consultant to send us kind of the raw data from those efforts. So that's something that we'll reach out. But I know that this chapter at a high level summarizes what those things were. And then from that, is where these goals and principles are derived. So
Well, I have two observations related to this area. Since this was formulated, you know, we've come off of COVID and we've had challenges that are much more prevalent now than they were at this point. And they include the blight challenge. This has been driven from a lot of factors of the lowering affordability, I call it living affordability. Homeowners are pressed on all sides with costs, much greater costs to maintain their homes, to pay their utility bills. It's resulting in blighting that, you know, constituents have brought to my attention is very concerning to them. And so I think that, well, we'd like to keep this broad and upbeat. That challenge within the various neighborhoods throughout Cottonwood Heights needs to be addressed. We have an opportunity to look at that as a concern, and that also ties in with resiliency. Again, the ability not only for people to stay in their homes, you know, there's both the entry level challenge, but again, maintaining and staying in their home, whether they're whatever generation they may come from.
Councilmember Burrell, sorry, just so I understand, because I want to track where you're going with this. So are you saying that there are some of these things in this general plan that we need to change that would make life more affordable for these people and kind of
Well-
meet their needs?
Well, we can't pay to help everybody water their
Yeah.
lawn and do things like that. But it ties in with public safety, as homes are blighted and people say, well, or they may even think they're doing their part. I'm gonna go to xeriscaping soon.
Mhm.
And so it's a whole phenomena of the 21st century that didn't exist, you know, 20 years ago when we incorporated as a city. So exactly how we address this in the general plan, I am not stating,
Okay,
you know, I am stating that
Mhm.
the general plan is to understand where our residents are at, what, you know, what concerns they have and what we need to do both in the short and long term. So again, it ties in with not just aesthetics, but public safety and a lot of things. And so that's an element that I feel is missing. And the other thing is, again, and it ties in with costs, but to put a greater focus on interlocal and on, okay, so we all know that we own certain public works utilities. We, you know, snow plowing and sort of, but what the older cities, more sophisticated cities are doing, and they're looking, when they think about water, they think about sewer. Things that tie together, I think our communities need to know that our city is really looking at the challenges related to keeping infrastructure maintained and financially viable into the future is more of an emphasis of looking at what we've got and are the sources that we contract out to. And sure, we have presentations and we look at that as a council. But what I'm talking about is an even greater focus, and whether that falls under community. I know we're talking about community goals, right?
Goal 8 and the community goals,
Mhm.
the interlocal.
Yeah,
And to your point, Michael Smith made some great comments about just what you've talked. I've been talking about beautification and blight for 6 months now. And he actually made some comments. So I went back to the general plan in 2005, and there are specific goals about beautification, which should be included. So your point is well taken and very appropriate. So, yeah.
yeah, so let's run through just from chapter 1, the goals and principles here. And I think also to provide a little context.
Before we do that, and
Yes.
just as a preface to,
Sure.
as we start doing what you just said. The opinions that I'm getting are that this is more boilerplate and not specific to Cottonwood Heights.
Mhm.
And so as we do just what you said, as we go through this, you know, instead of the consultant copying and pasting from work he's done with other cities, we want to make this unique to Cottonwood Heights.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm not interested in the boilerplate language that they use in a couple other cities. Let's focus in and does that make sense? So as you
Yeah.
start that,
Absolutely, and I appreciate the comment, because I had the same notes in my review in quite a few sections, so. To provide a little context on why this document's important is. This is really the marching orders for the Community and Economic Development Department over the next 10 to 20 years of. What types of initiatives do we need to start? What things do we need to focus on? How do we need to allocate staff time and resources to implement the vision that we collectively agree is where we want to be in that time? So as we do that, just as the mayor pointed out, it's really important that the language is specific enough so that we know what the direction is. There's some stuff in here that I think could be a lot more specific to say, well, what does that mean for us? How do we get there? And it doesn't have to exactly lay out a roadmap for how we achieve the vision. We just have to understand what it is that we want to get to, and then the staff can work together to figure out, you know, different strategies to achieve what's articulated here. So,
I'd like
So-
to give some credit to Rana, who's here, and she and I had a great conversation. She said she pulled up general plans from multiple other cities in the nation that are same size, and it's a boilerplate. And she said she had a 13-page document with comments, which I hope we can find. I would like to dive into this because I think that first sentence is weak sauce. And I love what is actually from the general plan in 2005. And I've included it as a comment. And if you can indulge me, I'd like to read what I think that first paragraph should say. Cottonwood Heights is a community that highly values its history of well-maintained residential community. The preservation of quality of life is of utmost importance to residents and business owners. Cottonwood Heights views itself as a city where residents, tourists, businesses, and government come together to create an attractive, safe, and well-maintained community where people are proud to live, learn, work, and recreate.
that was a 2005 statement.
Bingo, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a beautiful introduction to then we start into the goals.
right.
I mean, I think that what that shows is that it doesn't give me a lot of great confidence that when they were creating this document that they did their thorough research. Because if they would have looked at that plan previously, they would have said, wow, this is very specific. Not only specific, but the city themselves adopted this and agreed with it. So you'd think that they would use that going forward. And that's just, again, some of the feedback I've gotten and concerns I have as well.
The general.
Because
plan
that is well said.
We would like to hold their feet to the fire because even their statistics are inaccurate. And I think they can do better. To serve,
Sure.
especially with what we're compensating
Would you
for.
Yeah.
read through that again? I'm having some consternation
Here,
here.
right here. Right, but do you want to read
So
it?
the-
Right here,
So in this first chapter, really
the 2005 plan.
so each chapter has its own specific goals related to the content within that chapter, but the first chapter is really capturing the vision for the community as a whole. So it's more of what are the guiding principles for the city collectively that will then inform the goals and strategies in the subsequent chapters of the plan. So I think goal 1, preserve and enhance existing neighborhoods. I think that's a legitimate goal. The principles would articulate more of what that means. And then within each chapter, we want to remember this is a goal we have. Is each chapter addressing this specific goal in a way that will help us keep this in mind with the transportation, economic development, recreation, those subsets of the plan.
I agree with that. However, 7 of the 8 goals are land use, and there's not even a single goal of economic development, which I think is a glaring omission.
Yeah, and we can certainly make that a focus here. And again, I think that's why we're all here, right? Is to say what's really important for the city, and that is really important to capture so that we're placing emphasis on that because it is really important to have a healthy fiscal city moving forward.
New anything you wanted to say about the statement?
Yeah, I'm having a tough time here. We're speaking as if every resident we have is privileged enough to be able to maintain their properties. We have an aging population, first of all. We have properties that are very expensive for individuals. We don't know where people are. when when this situation happens, when they can't water their lawn or anything else. We cannot displace ourselves from those considerations when we're making statements, putting it right. That cannot happen for us. We have to be inclusive of all of our residents. So we need to be really careful as to how we state these things when we're talking about a general plan that everybody's gonna have access to, everybody's a part of, and everybody's going to get the chance to read.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I see that as aspirational rather than stake in the ground that we have to do something a certain way, but I do think that beauty leads to beauty. And if we could assist, and one of the comments that Mike Smith made about the blight is, why don't we talk about organizing volunteers and other things to
But
be able to help those.
But
who are
that's
in need.
that's not always sustainable, see? So if you have a family, if you have somebody that's, yeah. But you don't wanna put aspirational goals in a framework that includes everybody.
How would you
Yeah,
change it to? or would
And
you
that's what I'm
submit
going
it?
through, that's what I'm going through. We have to be very careful with the language. And the way-
Yeah,
the way it's conceived.
I completely agree, and I think in the principles and throughout the chapter, we can have that thought in the back of our minds to then think, how can we achieve that dream or aspiration in a way, because I think capturing that is important, and I'm not sure exactly where that belongs or how we word it. But if it's in here, then the staff will know in 10, 20 years, this is an important thing that we need to think about as we're introducing these initiatives and projects
It has to be embedded.
throughout
in
the community.
everything.
Yeah, so
Could never be
as-
punitive in nature.
No.
In any way, shape, or form.
yeah, and as we review these, I think we can find a home for that, and I think that's a valid comment of, and this is why we're here to help identify the things that we want to focus on so that it's not lost, because everyone has in their own minds what things might be interpreted as, but if it's not written down, then you have 12 different interpretations of the same thing. So, any questions or comments on goal number 1?
Well, you had a comment which I responded to about actually including the word buildings, the historic buildings in that
Mhm.
first bullet point, because the old mill structure is unsafe. And so if we
Mhm.
took the word buildings out and we said, and that historic districts and landscapers preserved as maintaining the local history, I
Mhm.
think that would at least give us a little bit of wiggle room for what the fate of the old mill would be. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying what the fate of the old mill should be. I'm not making any declaration. I am
Mhm.
saying that that the sentence stands if you remove the word buildings.
Mhm. Yeah. And we don't need to wordsmith tonight, but I think it's just getting a general idea of what's in here and what things are missing, like, having a goal specific to economic development, making sure that the language is inclusive and not excluding certain demographics groups or people in different circumstances. So those are great feedback,
Do we
Mayor.
know how many buildings we've designated as historic?
I believe there's 2,
Just
the
two.
old mill and the power station.
Well,
Or
it's
no?
actually the building adjacent to Butler Elementary School, just to the west of
Oh, okay.
elementary. It was
That's
a
right.
dormitory.
Oh, right.
Just west.
Yeah.
Those are the two that
Right.
are protected by ordinance in the
Yeah,
Cotton
yeah.
Heights.
Yeah, and but that doesn't mean that there aren't other historical assets that we want to preserve and identify, and that could be addressed in later chapters or, and other means, but if that's something that's really important, we
Well,
can
and-
focus on that.
And coming back to affordable living. I learned in the last 3 years through the historic committee that there is designations that can be done with neighborhoods that are at least, I believe it's 50 years old.
Mhm.
That actually then make those people that own houses, they're able to get subsidies to keep their HVAC and different
Mhm.
things going. Because again, the affordability of just living and being able to meet the mortgage payments and take care of the yards and
Mhm.
meet your utility, and that really is not included there. The principles, it talks about ensuring that new development is compatible and goes on to talk about that, but the transition zones. But again, I don't see in those 4 bullets that addresses and I don't know, I agree, we're not gonna figure out the wording tonight, but we have this real dichotomy in every single one of our districts. of people that are just trying to scratch it out and get by, to the affluent owners who
Mhm.
don't understand why we don't do so much more in the way of amenities and all this.
Sure.
So this is gonna be a tricky.
Yeah, and
I do think that that is missing in the first four
Sure.
bullets, something to address.
so for the sake of time, it might be helpful just to review all of the goals and get a sense for what's in here, so that we can then go back and think of, what did we miss? So I think from a professional standpoint, I think goal one is solid. Preserving and enhancing existing neighborhoods is really a core thing that I don't think anyone wants to interrupt. And this will be seen throughout the rest of the document to, focus redevelopment or densification efforts outside of existing neighborhoods to again help preserve those areas. And that's captured somewhat in these bullets. So goal 2 here, enhance neighborhood connectivity and accessibility to local amenities. This was a goal that was identified earlier. This first bullet, connect neighborhoods with local destinations and amenities, especially for those walking and bicycling. I think that's also a solid goal. Something to think about is if this is in here, and depending on how it's communicated later in the chapters, from a planning perspective, we would look at this and say, okay, this is a goal. If someone's creating a subdivision adjacent to a non-commercial or non-residential area, they should connect it with a street so that there's more connectivity and walkability. Sometimes that's not a popular decision to connect
Or even
residential
easements.
with
It doesn't have to
commercial.
be a street, if people walking
Right.
and rolling, it's easements, pedestrian walkways,
Right.
and bridges and.
So in here, it could say, connect neighborhoods with local destinations and amenities, especially for those walking and bicycling, but it could also exclude, we don't want to connect the vehicle, access or, some type of language like that. So I think,
That is definitely missing in here is the keep cars from going into the neighborhoods. And so to your point, if in my particular neighborhood, if you were to connect it to a major road, you would destroy the walkability of my neighborhood. You can't tell you how many people walk the loop in my neighborhood. So while I would, like a walking easement, there's no way that I would want to have this reflect that I wanted to include more connectivity by putting in a new road.
yeah, and that can be reworded to capture that sentiment, but, as I'm going through it, I'm just thinking, how are we going to implement this? What would be my first, thought on that? And here it does emphasize walking and bicycling, but if connecting auto networks is not desirable in some areas or neighborhoods, we could say on case by case basis, we can explore connecting vehicle connections and things like that. And that will be more addressed in the transportation chapter. Here.
I mean,
So-
there's so many nuances to think of that just
There
are
is.
gonna be captured here, right? So that's what's hard is.
Do we still have our little pointer? Is this it?
No, start to.
Oh, it's right here. Well, well, the one that, oopsie. So the question I have that doesn't seem to be, jive with land use is it says here, and again, this is related to neighborhoods. Foster a greater range of goods, services, and amenities by supporting the establishment and operation of locally owned businesses. Wait a minute, maybe it's the one above. Attract a wider range of retail, office, and other commercial uses through expending resources of the city. And that seems to stand in conflict with, in any way, advancing small commercial nodes. Like, I'm in favor of 10-minute walkability, walking sheds or what they're called, so that people can access a range of retail and patronize the local businesses and all that. And yet, we don't see that in our land use. We very much are keeping residential, all residential. And we're not creating those small commercial nodes, which
Mhm.
again would then support what this says here.
Mhm.
So I'd like to hear what my council colleagues have to say about those being the three principles, if it doesn't jive with.
I think that is actually supported in the land use chapter. That have these
Mhm.
multiple different,
Small nodes.
yes, and yes, it is.
Yeah, and I think for tonight, I think if everyone's on board with the goal, generally enhance neighborhood connectivity and accessibility to local amenities, we can, you know, we can think through what that might
I mean,
mean.
could we use the word walking shed?
Sure. Yeah, or within a 15-minute walk.
The planning commissioner said, try to avoid jargon,
Yeah.
try to make it really plain language was their advice.
And I agree with what Suzanne is saying, that I do think, I mean, I can't tell you how many times we're going and talking to neighbors where they're having cut through traffic with cars and other things, which are causing problems. And I haven't met anyone that says, oh, please have that happen in my street. That nobody wants that. But I want to make sure that if we do make it easier for walkers and bikers, I also want to make sure we do it in a way that doesn't inhibit the
Absolutely.
movement of
Sure.
vehicles, and that's important as well. Is that if we
Yeah.
can find that nice mix, because I have seen ways in which either it has prioritized the movement of vehicles that impacts walkers or bikers in a negative way, but also the flip side, and want to make sure that that's at least conveyed, that we find a nice balance for everyone, that with every choice that how they like to move.
Right, and I think it's also very driven on the context of where you are, right? So if you're
Absolutely.
in an area next to Fort Union that's, you know, maybe considered a little more walkable, different amenities and solutions would be more appropriate than if you're in the middle of a neighborhood that's far away from everything. So in those contexts, it would be more of a recreational endeavor to go walking with your dog or your kids, and not necessarily going to a thing. So moving down here, so goal 3, ensure community and lifestyle choice. That's a pretty general goal,
Yeah, I don't
but
know what
I
that
think,
means.
you know, the
I mean,
principles
I do,
here,
but I mean,
yeah, so the principles here articulate what that means, I guess.
don't forget.
That's probably a goal that's trying to be a little more inclusive of everyone, giving people choices of where they live. And I think that's something that's becoming more popular, to where generally since World War II, communities have developed in a very homogeneous way, where there's suburban development and big apartments, and there's not really a whole lot of in between. So I think this is trying to capture that, you know, folks that are newlyweds, or, you know, single professionals or married professionals that are working, that don't necessarily need a 5,000 square foot home on a lot, or folks that are retired that want to shift their lifestyle, that Cottonwood Heights has a place for everyone, regardless of their current demographic status or socioeconomic status. So I think that's what this is trying to capture, and we can definitely wordsmith that, but that's what I took away from that goal. Is that in line with what you're all thinking is a, you know, a reasonable aspiration, I guess, for the city?
Yeah, a life cycle within a city is something that
Yeah,
is super difficult
This one feels completely templated to me.
for sure.
yeah, and we can reword it to be more specific to what that means here. And I guess with that, there's always some trade-offs, right? As if we want to embrace this type of a goal, that means embracing other forms of housing that maybe Cottonwood Heights doesn't have very much of. You know, townhomes are recently becoming more prevalent. That fills the gap for those groups that maybe don't want to rent or have a huge home.
Well, it talks about missing middle.
Right.
One of the things that I just questioned, the third bullet, provide opportunities to encourage residents to stay in place through homeowner assistance and senior housing options. I have to say, as an economist, if you actually have that as a goal, you reduce the number of homes that are available for turnover, and that constrains supply, and that increases price. So
Yeah.
yes, we want seniors to stay in our city. Do we want them to stay in place and not turn over?
To
'Cause
stay
one
in
of-
our city.
Yeah, one of the things
Yeah.
that everybody was talking about is we have a, senior housing at the town center because they want to stay in their community. But
Sure.
in the missing middle conversation, the ULCT meeting, I mean, the guy from was like, I would do anything to never have a lawnmower again. If I could stay in my community and never mow a lawn, I would. do it."
Right.
And so that missing middle, but I'm not sure that bullet of encouraging people to stay in place is a desired outcome.
Well, and likewise, that one of the breakouts that I went to at ULCT that was actually talking, it was on seniors. So that the term aging in place, the discussion within the breakout session was instead of taking that literally, like, I'm gonna age in place, I'm never gonna leave this 3,000 square foot, 4,000
Mhm.
square foot home I live in. It's more the idea of being able to age in the community that's so
Right.
familiar to you, and
Yeah.
that's what brings comfort to seniors. So
Mhm.
that making that wording
Yeah, that wording's not
Where-
clear. That's not what that wording
where
says.
seniors can, maybe they sell off that big house and but they're able to stay within the area that they feel.
And these are just
Familiarity.
options, right? It's providing them with options, because obviously they can do
Yeah.
whatever they want, of course.
Right,
But having those options nearby maybe helps.
yeah, and those are things that we can help the consultant with wording, because I understand the concepts and ideas, I just don't know if that clearly articulates
Is
what
everybody
it
else
really
comfortable
means.
with the goal?
I really don't like it.
I don't like it at all.
So I guess if you were to take a stab at what we want that goal to capture, what would that?
Provide community and.
Yeah, I like it, nobody else likes it.
Yeah, I think
Could be better stated.
if we use the
I
bullets
just don't know how.
to help reword it, I think we can do that. Cause I agree, it's a little bit obscure.
Can we ensure
Especially
lifestyle
ensure,
choice? I hate the word
Yeah,
ensure.
I think it's provide opportunities for everyone to remain in the community during all phases of life, or something like that.
Well, because again, this comes back to affordability. For a lot of people, having the transportation alternative and having that transit makes their ability to stay in the city.
Mhm.
And senior people who don't want to drive anymore, maybe they don't want
Right.
to own it, but they have no walkable place that they can live.
Mhm.
And so I think it's an important section to have.
Sure,
You could say providing community opportunities and lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
Looking
Or,
at the other.
You know, anyway, there's lots of
something.
different.
yeah, and we can think on that
I don't know that.
a little more. So just to keep moving along, I wanna,
Wait, I gotta go back. So sorry, you
Yeah.
gotta go back up to goal one, because if
Okay.
we're talking about agreeing on. Our objectives here, it says ensure new housing is consistent with existing neighborhood character, scale, form, and density. That to me says we are not going to densify anywhere.
That conflicts with
And
what,
so what I think it should say
Yeah.
at least is ensure new housing is in harmony with the existing neighborhood.
Mhm.
Whether or not you like the word ensure or not, I mean, that does connotate that we're
I
gonna
agree.
do a lot more than we probably can do with our
Yeah.
small city budget.
Well, even the bullet point below, when we say to preserve and enhance existing neighborhoods, but then we say provide a balanced mix of land uses. I would put strategically throughout the city.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these would be more removing barriers or obstacles to that type of a thing. So maybe allowing for a balanced mix of land uses where it makes sense in the city.
Strategically.
Yeah, right.
Wants to make
So,
good use rather than provide. I
so
like that.
we can work with the language on these to help make it more action oriented. So goal 4 was one I wanted to talk about with you all. Transform major corridors. I don't like the wording for that. That sounds. I get what they're trying to do there, but I don't know if that's at face value, a great goal. And I think the council needs to give us a little direction on what that means here. So here they're focused on, minimizing traffic, local traffic, let's see, demand by developing robust multimodal transportation system that transforms auto-oriented corridors. So there were quite a few comments on this. I think that's one that we probably eliminate because we don't have a whole lot of control on what UDOT does. I think we can reword that if that's something that the city aspires to have, is a more balanced network where people have choice to take transit, to drive, or to bike. Again, I think it's a wording thing, but also,
Before we go to principles, we need the goal to be more specific.
Or are you?
or
are you
what's
saying-
the goal?
Yeah, what is the
Is,
goal?
is do we want to reduce the amount of traffic on major corridors? Do we want to change how people move throughout the
That
city?
will create more traffic in.
In the neighborhood.
Do we simply want to redesign the major corridors? I guess transform major corridors doesn't provide a lot of direction for us. What does
Yeah, I
that
don't
mean?
like it. I don't like that statement.
improve?
Doesn't it, doesn't need to be there. I think you've looked at this so many times. Does that goal need to be there? Because the transportation section in this update really
Mhm.
does say a lot of this. And goal 5 is create vibrant walkable activity centers.
Right,
That does say, we are trying to provide walkable, but I do think it expressly has to say to keep traffic out of the neighborhoods.
Mhm.
I don't think it's a reasonable trade-off for us
Sure.
to strangle major corridors and then force so much more traffic
mean,
into
we're looking-
neighborhoods.
You're spot on.
Wait, may I make a comment? You're maybe conflating something here. I want to make sure what we're doing. When it says multimodal, that should not be considered that creates traffic jams. Multimodal actually takes more cars off our major corridors.
Mhm.
I think anybody who has lived in Cottonwood Heights for any period of time knows that we have the challenge of Highland Drive, Fort Union Boulevard, and SR 190 and SR 210. These are major corridors that create isolation and blockades for those who want to get across those places because they don't feel safe. And I could spend a lot of time on that, and I won't right now, but
Yeah.
so I think addressing the uniqueness of Cottonwood
Mhm.
Heights are these fast-moving arterials that are very challenging
Mhm.
for various neighborhoods. You may not live in one, none of you may. I live in one. And as you all
lived
know.
in one, so I think that's unfair. for you
Yes,
to point
well,
it
no,
out.
I mean, my point is that I think we need to be sensitive to how many
Mhm.
people are dealing with even when they're in their car. They're afraid that somebody running a red light is gonna kill them or seriously injure themselves or somebody they love. It's fast moving, it's the noise, so I think if we're trying to make a general plan that really speaks to the challenges of Cottonwood Heights, addressing our major
Mhm.
corridors and the word multimodal, it should
That
not be
didn't bother me at all.
conflated to mean that we're gonna constrict and push cars into our neighborhoods. When you have multimodal, it gives people choices. It takes cars,
Mhm.
it lessens the volume.
I don't think that,
Yeah.
Councilmember Highland was pointing out intermodal and tying it to being a cause and effect of our
No,
neighborhoods.
I just.
I think just mentioning the point, we went down to Greenfield, we've gone to so many areas. And the
Camino,
only
25
thing that
East,
we can
Nantucket.
point to, unless someone gives us
Mhm.
something else, is we've got to figure out how to move folks more efficiently, one
Mhm.
way or another, or however it's done, on these major corridors,
Sure.
because people continue to bleed
And
bleed through our neighborhoods.
I think this is a more of a messaging, language thing that maybe wasn't captured in the goal itself. So what I'm hearing is, shifting to a more balanced network that provides people with options. And this is not only for those that just want to bike or ride, it's for, if we're creating a place for seniors, maybe they can't drive and they're trapped in their house because they can't get anywhere.
I think it's
without a
providing
car.
options
They
while
can't even get
making
on-
sure that as we
Right.
improve, that staff has a directive, that we
Mhm.
will look at these different modes, these different approaches, we will look at
Sure.
improving a street, but we have to make sure that we are
And
not
encourage.
impacting
Right.
somehow because of this action, you're then having cars bleed over here, or because of this action, you're now making it more difficult for people to move. It's
Yeah.
having the holistic approach that we make sure that every project has all of that in mind.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, and we can reword this to capture everyone's thoughts on that, to make sure that it's a focal point, but that it has some guardrails as to not creating other issues
There
elsewhere,
you go.
but also
There you go.
capturing the other goals, because I think one of the comments I made here is that this largely will be a byproduct of implementing all the other stuff that's in the plan, that it inherently, if we achieve the vision, the city will be more multimodal, it will be more walkable, because all the other goals speak to that type of an environment. So
Well, one of the challenges that we have right now in Cottonwood Heights is that many of our streets make it easier to cut through. Let's just pick on
Mhm.
Camino. If when you entered Camino, there was a median and there was daylighting on some of the intersections through there that inherently create visual friction, slow vehicles down, then the person who cuts through there might do it once and say, boy, I really did have to drive 25 miles an hour.
Mhm.
Imagine that. So I think I'll just stay on the arterial instead of cutting through. But right now, we don't have that on very many streets where we have visual friction, where we've daylighted any of the intersections or created medians. There are some exclusive neighborhoods that have those, but it's certainly not pervasive throughout our neighborhoods.
We have one street in my neighborhood that speed bumps is not slowing down. What they do is they go over the speed bump, speed up to the next speed bump. It is not working. out.
Did you hear me list speed bumps?
No.
I listed
I didn't.
daylighting of
No, I
intersections.
didn't, I
Yeah,
wasn't being
okay.
specific on it. I
Okay.
wasn't trying to be
Okay.
argumentative. I'm just
Okay.
talking about some of these systems. We are trying to police human behavior, which is an impossibility. That's just the reality.
Well, we do.
We're still gonna have anomalies along the way, no matter what we do.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have to have our traffic people giving people citations.
Yeah.
This is the element that is gonna be difficult for us. You can set up any mechanism in the world. People will circumvent a mechanism in some way, shape, manner, or form.
Mhm.
It's great that we have the conversation, but we have to consider that human behavior factor in this. That if we're gonna expend funds or we're gonna come up with ideas, which is spending our time, which is our most valuable asset, let's move in the direction of things that can actually work and are sustainable.
Yeah, there's many proven ones.
Which I like
Yeah.
that we have approached things of testing it out, seeing if it works. If it doesn't work, we move on to the next thing.
We're doing that right now.
We move on to the next thing,
Piloting
right?
Traffic circles.
And frankly, I think it
Yeah.
is not only a defensible position, but a position as a council to communicate to our residents as we're talking about Butlerville days and we're cutting a float and we're doing all these things. We have to make sure when we spend the money that there's absolute good use that is going to impact an outcome.
Mhm. So we've only got a few more minutes left, so I wanted to get through there's 3 more goals. So
Sure.
goal 5, I think, from the original draft in 2021, I think this goal has largely been achieved or in process. I think we can refine that to be more forward focused, rather than, creating a town center. It's like, okay, well, we kind of did that now, we're building it. How does this plan enhance the town center moving forward, and how can we draw
So we
attention?
change the goal header to say that.
Yeah, certainly. So we'll refine goal 5 to say we've kind of achieved this already, but we want to focus on this goal for the town center that, capture or use it as a catalyst for the surrounding areas to enhance the thing. So we'll work on this with the consultant. Goal 6, continue to build a great and complementary citywide and Wasatch Canyons recreation network. I think there's things we can tweak in here, but really from my perspective of not living here, one of the primary assets of this community is the access to recreation. I mean, it's really unparalleled worldwide, essentially, that people move here probably only for that reason, largely. I don't know why else you'd want to live right next to the mountains if you didn't access them regularly. So
Because of
Hi-
I-215, it's very.
yeah,
convenient.
highlighting that I think is
The
important.
views in I-215.
Right,
That'd be another survey we could take. How many
Sure.
people actually access the Canyon Recreation at this table?
Mhm.
How many every month access Canyon Recreation? Canyon Recreation.
Well, you
Yeah.
said every month. There might be
You'd
one
be
out of
surprised. There were more
12.
people who skied
Yeah.
in Denver and it was 2 hours to the resorts than here, like,
Oh,
local.
really?
It's really, it's kind of crazy, but. I think
Yeah.
we Made it, but I think that this general plan absolutely has to nail that, and I've said before, it
Right.
is the visitor economy. And
Totally.
there are so many people here, 20 minutes to downtown, 20 minutes to an international airport, 20 minutes to 4 world-class ski resorts, and an hour to 8. Who wouldn't want to live here?
yeah, and I think strategically, the location of Cottonwood Heights, far surpasses any other community in the state, really. So I think we can capitalize on that.
Only Vancouver, Canada has, because they can go to the beach too, actually.
Right.
Actually.
So I like
better
the
than
header of this
Uh,
goal, so I think it's.
Yeah,
Does anybody else have comments on it? I think it's.
Yeah, I
it's
like
a
it.
Clear goal.
I think what you're talking about is the bullet that says establish a discernible Cottonwood Heights downtown city center. That we're already in the process of, so it's
Right.
probably the supporting bullets that need to be revised there.
yeah,
Oh, I was talking about 6.
Oh, 6. Oh,
yeah, and
Okay.
I think there, we can refine language.
No, I like the goal header.
But
of 5.
If the goal
I
generally,
know I need it changed rather.
if the goal generally, I think everyone agrees with, we can refine the language to make it more specific and targeted for the city.
What I can, as the third bullet down. While I agree that we need to really think about parking strategies,
Mhm.
it if it in any way implies that more parking lots are what we want, then I vehemently disagree with that. We need to think about, again, quality of life, safety, and shuttling programs are and parking lots are not, they're not a revenue generator. They attract problems during the night. They require maintenance. They don't enhance our foothill area. And so
I
I don't-
think that statement's pretty broad. It doesn't specify parking
Yeah, and that,
lots.
that was one of my comments here is I don't know what that means. So that's something I want to get more clarity on where that came from. Because I agree with you. I don't think that's in the best interest of the city. It may be the opposite to say, you know, find other ways for people to get to the recreation that isn't driving and parking. So we'll think more on that because I had the same comment.
again, I think
As
it
you-
can be an economic driver for our new town center to have people, if they are gonna drive, to have a place to leave their car. And then hopefully they'll spend money in and around the town center, and then they can hop on a shuttle to get to a trailhead or connect with the intermodal hub at the mouth of Big Cottonwood Canyon.
Mhm,
And that way we capture their dollars, their time, their spending,
right.
versus having them jump in their car and blast the stereo and drive it.
I agree. So goal 7 is more sustainability focused. It doesn't say the word sustainability, but that's what the bullets would imply is, you know, that the city wants to maintain a balance with being a sustainable city and a good steward of the area. I think the ways we get there could vary, and that's largely dependent on you as the policymakers of what types of things you want to focus on or prioritize. This is a list that was derived from those previous outreach efforts. I'd encourage you all to review these and see if this is still in line with what your thinking is with the sustainability initiatives that we take here as a community. And a lot of these things could be built into codes and ordinances if we feel that they're important. And then the last one is goal 8. And I think this kind of ties into earlier discussions of recognizing our place in the region and capitalizing on assets, opportunities, you know, things that we can leverage. I think tourism and recreation is a huge one that the city could do much better on from an economic standpoint. And then being a good neighbor, collaborating with other efforts. So
Please go back to landmark design and ask them to look at the 2005 general plan regarding this, and because
Yes.
all these bullets are just a boilerplate to me. So I think they can really be pinpointed
Yeah, and
to.
Well, I'm not sure where, oh, I'm sorry,
No,
are you
please.
done?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where this would fit in, whether it fits in here or not, but an opportunity to both financially be more viable, our fiscal responsibilities, as well as opportunistic when it comes to where we are. And I'm just gonna take one minute to read this, because I think this could be salient. Municipal coordination and cooperation. Provide consistent communications and coordination related to short and long-term savings by collaboration with neighboring cities, Salt Lake County and state of Utah, including its subsidiaries such as UDOT, to encourage all development, whether within the municipality or within adjoining areas, to be appropriately, efficiently, and proactively managed. Encourage cooperative land use planning efforts between surrounding cities, improve communications between municipalities by implementing a communication plan. Encourage development with annexation overlays, that goes on. Establish policies that encourage a growth within declared overlay areas to maximize existing services and infrastructure. Again, inserting that word infrastructure and thinking about how we've watched so many projects go on in this last 12 months within our city, all by different entities from Enbridge, thank you, Enbridge,
Water.
the Salt Lake Metro, I mean,
Yeah.
all these different, so I think something that really talks about our ability, because we'd have all these great
Collaborating,
cities
yeah.
all around us, yeah.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. So
Where did that come from that you were reading?
I took some of it, I modified it from Summit County's general plan. So they were talking obviously at a county level, but I think that at a city level.
Some of that really belonged in, I think, the economic development chapter and.
yeah, and I think I agree with you that there has to be an economic development goal. I think there's hints of that in some of these goals, but it needs to be specifically called out with specific principles that will help guide the
Yeah.
future, so. But with that all, and there, we'll come back. I mean, we've got more time to talk about this. We're not trying to force this through by any means. We want to make sure you're all aware of what's in here and that you all have a voice with that. So,
So let me ask you this just real quickly.
yes,
Before, so we've got planned to meet with the planning commission.
yeah.
What are our goals in that meeting? So as we're all together,
Mhm.
what should we expect to hopefully accomplish?
So in that meeting, we're hoping to have most everyone's comments in the document for at least the first half of the document before that meeting. So staff will go through and identify any areas that we have to talk about more specific to, you know, conflicting goals or ideas. And the hope there is to get some resolution with things that people may disagree on in there. But also, if there are specific things that you'd like to talk about or explore that are missing, that would be a great opportunity to do that there as well.
So, okay. Good. Any other questions?
No, the planning commission's meeting one more time, right? But we won't have a chance to talk
No,
about the
so-
last, because they've already talked about the first 4 chapters.
Yeah, so their next meeting will be with you all. So they're just moving their meeting from the 15th to the joint meeting.
Do we feel comfortable with what our goals should be with them? I'm not sure I do.
I think there's a lot to do in this document.
Mhm. Yeah, and we can push that back later in the process because there is a lot to digest here. So we're certainly welcome or happy to.
Well, may I just say that I think it was historical. Remember that first year that we were all serving together, bring to Newell and Wickers here, and we had a joint meeting. And I think that even at the time, Tim Tingy told us it was the first time that the planning commission had ever had a joint meeting with the council. And as I remember that event, kind of, we all ended up sitting in our chairs at this end of the table, and then the planning commission filled the rest of the seats. And it was an opportunity, in my view, to get a little deeper insight into how they viewed the most important priorities for the city. Because I remember at the time, 4 or 5 of them wanted to talk about resiliency and sustainability, not just from a natural resources standpoint and aesthetics and that, but really, you know, the infrastructure and coming into climate change and erratic weather and fire danger and all of these things. They really wanted the several of them, I think there were 5 of them, really wanted the council to, you know, make that a little higher, you know, discussion and priority within the city. That's one of the things I remember from that event 3 years ago. I don't know how
No,
the
I-
mayor
I
or Councilman
agree with that.
Newell. So that's what I'm anticipating. They'll have a chance to say what they want to see emphasized in these comments that we've said today, and we'll hear it from each other, maybe have a chance.
Could you pose that question to Chair Steinman?
Sure.
Say, what do they expect to accomplish
Mhm.
in the meeting? And-
Sure.
and which I think might inform us and help
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
as well.
I know it's a daunting task, but I would urge my council colleagues to get that PDF, make comments, even if you kind of just stroll through it a bit. This is a really important document, and we'll look to Landmark Design to do some, you know, sorry, I'm gonna say it, do their job. And then, but our input helps them do their job better.
Agreed,
Agreed.
seconded.
Thirded.
Thank you for that discussion. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time, being prepared for that. Item C under staff reports is a flash vote survey discussion. So City Manager Jared Gerber is going to give us some background.
We'll try to go quickly because we have a lot more CDR we can talk about. So hopefully I sent this out last week. Hopefully you all had a chance to look through. These are the questions they came up with from the directions from the meeting 2 months ago. So I wanted to make sure that these questions were going in the right direction, that we're asking for the right information. This question is most talking about how most property owners in Conroe Heights currently pay a total amount of tax per thousand of assessed value. I'll have to fill in these numbers. Scott will have to do some work if we go forward on this.
Really like that. I really like that question.
Of this amount, about a certain percentage goes to the city of Conroe Heights for local services like police, street maintenance, parks, et cetera. The other percentage of property tax collected goes to school districts, state, counties, and whatever else we want to put in there. So prior to reading this, which best describes what you knew about Cottonwood Heights property taxes? I thought most of them, more than 50% went to the city. I knew most the city got less than 50%, but not the percentages below 20%. And whatever that percentage was, percentage, Scott, you know,
It's like 14.
it's like 14 or 16.
The
isn't it?
percentage of tax that goes to the city.
It's 14, 15. I'm
Okay.
actually trying to find that spreadsheet right now.
And
So
that
we'll
will
tweak these
based on
numbers.
Whether they're in the rec center or not,
Right.
but let's just give.
Which
it
is
the
why I
average.
questioned if we wanted to put parks in there.
No, we'll probably take that out because
Okay.
we need to go through all the lists and look at tax bill and actually put in.
Because on the tax that says Cottonwood Heights Parks
Yeah.
on their tax levy, which does not go to the city, so I think it's, if we put that in there,
Take this
it
out
might
right
be a
here, yeah.
little misleading, but also that it is so into the weeds when you start.
Yeah.
Oh, we can take it out because it's truly right now but we pay them to maintain it, or some of our parks. So it's kind of
Yeah.
that
It
question.
is a weird, I know.
I'll see if I can.
Just
figure out some more
think about it.
Okay,
Hybrid, yeah.
That second bullet point needs to be wordsmithed a bunch, yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know as I read it, I was like, wait, I
Yeah.
read it out loud. So
I knew.
I think I knew at most is probably what they were saying. The city got less than 50%, but no, the percentage is below.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'll play with it. Yeah. Right now, do you think the city of Cottonwood Heights has a great need, some need, or no real need for additional funds to provide this level of city services that you as a resident need and want?
Okay, so,
Do you think we have enough money or not to provide the services? Are they getting what they desire out of the city?
Additional
I think
funds
it's what it is.
That's a good question.
Then-
Like you worded differently.
Yeah.
I can tell.
I'm just trying to think if you don't know much about municipal government, what you're gonna say to something like that.
They're gonna say.
I think it's,
Yeah,
but I think it's, are you comfortable with the level of service that you get to? I'll just put something in there, I'll play with it.
There's something missing that you'd wanna have.
Yeah, 'cause I think the only gap I see in that is, and the reason this wording is important, is not everybody knows what services they're receiving.
Yeah,
They don't realize.
yeah, you could
the
list,
rest of everyday
you
life.
could list city
Yeah, you
services,
just list all.
public
of it.
safety, police and fire and infrastructure and roads.
Road
snowplow.
Because if
And
somebody
then-
said,
and
man, I
then
want
say-
better trash pickup.
And then
that's
say,
not
are there
the
other
city.
services that you think the city should provide, and are you willing to pay more taxes to get them?
And if so, what? Yeah.
okay. And then if the city of Cottonwood Heights was to shift some spending priorities, which of the following, if any of you think would be the best use of that money?
So
And again, they-
I'm wondering where improved stoplight timing for faster traffic flow, that is something that was done several years
Man,
ago.
don't we have,
Our council has
Police
never
already-
deliberated on that.
could we improve stoplight timing?
Or is that kind of already done?
We're at pretty much max on a lot of them.
Yeah.
This
Because that-
came from past surveys that they've done, so they.
I know, and actually Scott Bracken, Councilman Bracken had advanced the better stoplight timing on Fort Union Boulevard. So I would like to suggest that be removed. Because again, our council in 3.5
Oh, yeah,
years
I
has
like it.
never
I
even
like it.
deliberated
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And I think that the grouping should, if you're talking about vehicular stuff, those should be located side by side, so to speak. Because you talk about housing, you talk about theft. And I think that, again, I didn't like the wording of increased city speed limit enforcement. Increased enforcement of speed and, running of red lights, our intersections, those two things, because whether we lump them together or make them separate, I think that the feedback I get from constituents is their fear of intersections not only fast moving cars, but the running of red lights. And then you also have a speed, generally the speed on all.
I like
roads,
increased
one
traffic
enforcement.
enforcement.
On the housing affordability one, though, this is specifically asking for spending priorities, so are we actually asking if they're wanting city government to subsidize housing?
We can't do it.
Yeah.
We can't,
Felony.
not in a $27 million budget. It's
So.
not even a possibility.
If you were gonna ask about housing affordability, I mean, it could be. Really, it's zoning decisions
Right.
and it's entitlement decisions and it's housing availability, housing options, housing. But because it says spending priorities and housing affordability, I feel like we can't go down that
To
path.
count out, said encourage, more along the lines of code compliance and. I know there's issues with that. I know it goes back to cost too, though, so I don't know what we wanna.
That's probably more
Property
attainable
property
than
maintenance.
the other option.
It is.
Exactly.
So I do think. I do think code enforcement is a good question. I mean,
That's what I said, more like property maintenance or ways to encourage and. And assist in property maintenance or something
you
like
could say
that.
code enforcement overall, such as
I would love to know that.
property maintenance plus
To your point.
park management or off leash dogs or, because code enforcement goes beyond just.
I like the specificity. I think to say code enforcement, that means something different to
Yeah.
everybody. So.
Anyway, you can do it later. You, yeah.
No, that's fine. That's not a whole bunch of question marks. No idea. what-
Mary, you were saying something.
So am I the only one at the table that doesn't want to see affordability, affordable housing stay on there?
Something in there, some kind of.
I mean, we may all, I may be the only one that wants to investigate that more, but I get that from constituents. They don't want their children to live an hour's drive away.
How does the city spend money to encourage that?
So I think everyone,
This will help.
real quickly, I think everyone here is agreeing on housing affordability, the need for it and the options for everyone's family. I think the question, just how this is posed, it is asking on spending priorities, which means
Right.
there are direct
Well, and I
housing
think there,
subsidies.
and I think that there are people that would like to see us spend serious money on subsidizing affordable housing. There's also the avenues of changing the parking requirements that incentivize multiple.
But that wouldn't be subsidizing, though. That would be
That wouldn't be a cost because that's something we're gonna do.
you're enforcing upon
Right,
an
so what if you did put subsidize? I mean, I know nobody wants to
I mean,
think
my
that,
only issue with that is, I don't agree with the premise of it, just off the bat, but we have so many issues as a city that I think to the point, if we were to start subsidizing housing for residents, that means that we had solved all of our storm water issues, all of our street, I mean, it's just one of those things that we're not even hitting the basics right now.
Yeah.
And so I would not put a housing subsidy question on that. I would not be in favor of that.
I think that is something that we need to. Do some due diligence with our legislature. I was just talking about.
Yeah.
Because that's where those things can be
That's right.
developed and.
They did the first home buyer stuff. They
Yeah.
did all these other programs.
That's not.
And that is more appropriate on that level. Our city could not, I don't think we could handle
We
that.
would go bankrupt doing that, because it would be, the application would just come flying up.
So something to consider that other projects I've worked on is, potentially allocating resources to having a study completed where they're identifying what the impediments to affordable housing are. To
In your
identify
city.
what we could do better to just remove the barriers. And then from there, make ordinance changes to then, open the gate for development to do it privately. But there are things the city could do to identify what types of things aren't we doing, or what are we doing that's inhibiting those types.
I just think that needs more of an
Um,
explanation than if you're
sure.
just doing this survey. I think everyone could maybe come to a different conclusion on what we're meaning.
well, what if the question read something to Jim's point, an affordable housing study? Or an affordable housing implementation study? Would you support that?
Well, then I'd want the comprehensive safety action plan on there too.
Well, why not?
I don't know,
It-
I don't
it-
know,
too-
because it's too,
Too hard to explain, I think, in
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
short.
My,
right?
my complaint about the Y2 analytics, and you reference it often, but you know, anybody who's asked, do you want more walkability and bikeability is, and have no idea what that costs, no idea what that means.
Yeah, but this
of
one is,
course They will say
this one is
yes.
about cost. Where do you want to see the dollars go? Isn't so, I think this is asking, where do you want to see the dollars go?
But to Councilmember Holton's point, I don't think people understand what that means, what a city can do for affordability when it's $1 million.
I think you need more.
We have new programs to retain and attract local business. Okay, so it costs money to do that. You know, do we want to be doing that? Or do we want to be spending on expanding parks and recreation programs? I don't see what it hurts to put those things in, and if they get zero response, it'll.
So Ellen, I think what it is that none of us necessarily disagree, and we do want to know people's feedback. When I read expand parks and recreation programs, you don't need to tell me anything more. That is very self-explanatory, something that anyone can kind of understand. When you talk about safety action plan and these other things, you're going to need either a survey that's just on that can explain it, or having a focus group that's in person walking people through this stuff.
Okay.
I think that it's a little tricky in a survey like this. Again, remember, we also in the past have said we need to make it as simple as possible and get as many responses as we can. So we got to keep that in
If I may respectfully, I would say you call it a transportation comprehensive safety action plan. Put the word transportation, and then they go, oh, yeah, or no, I don't want a transportation comprehensive master, action plan. I mean, you insert the word transportation, and as far as affordable housing go, I think that what Jim Spun just described, it's very clear, an implementation study. Do you want money to be spent on a affordable housing implementation plan study? Those words are all very
So
understandable.
to me, that implies that we can impact affordability, and I'm not convinced that we can. What I would be in favor of, and what I know some cities have done, could we say, would you be in favor of supporting first-time homebuyer assistance? But if we gave $1,000 to a first-time home buyer that buys a home under a certain amount, that I know that there are cities that offer those type of grants. That would encourage a first-time home buyer, to buy a home.
No.
Well, $1,000 on a $700,000.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
it's gonna be pennies on their monthly mortgage, so.
Oh, I
no.
get it, I get it.
Yeah.
But it would still be encouraging homeownership, which we can help do.
I know we're kind of getting weighed down in this a little bit. I would like the top of the survey to start by saying, as Cottonwood Heights City provides, list what we provide. And then launch into the questions, because to Councilmember Holton's point, they're gonna think that we, based on all the comments we got from the first survey, everybody thinks that we control Woodford, and we don't.
That's right.
And we control the rec center, and we don't.
That's right.
And so our city is unique in that, or I would say probably not unique, a lot of other cities, but we don't provide a lot of municipal services that other cities do. So I'd like to lay that out first. Then ask these questions. I do like the question of if you had $100, how would you prioritize that? I don't know what that is, but I don't think we should get overly comprehensive in that question 3. Based on this discussion, I think it's.
We shouldn't be overly what?
The comprehensive, meaning we don't put in affordability, we don't put the
Yeah.
comprehensive safety action plan, we keep it very clear and understandable to someone who doesn't know how the city.
And it's really
functions.
things we're doing currently, anyway. So what do you want to see enhanced?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's keep going.
And the spend $100 is optional, that's why there's no projects listed, I'd have to get with Matt or somebody else.
Are you saying question 4, we shouldn't do this?
No, we can do it, I'm just saying, there's the reason that this is project 1, 2, and 3 is because we didn't put the time into it, unless you're gonna wanna do it to figure out what would those projects be.
Yeah, with the priority projects.
I see this like when you buy a house, you just expect it to have a roof and, a solid concrete foundation, and most of our residents don't know that we don't have that completely yet. With stormwater, we've got aging infrastructure, so we don't have the stuff they just expect us to have. So if
We
4 can be.
we can flesh
worded,
4
great.
out.
Yeah,
Okay, if you're interested in, it, we can flesh that out, I do like it, if you have $100, where are you gonna spend it?
yeah, I really like, and they provided surveys to us before that had some
Yeah,
suggestions.
there was a sample in there, but I
Yeah.
didn't wanna. Okay,
I think this is great, especially with property tax coming up. I would love to launch this in November.
Okay.
Everybody's aware of being taxed, so I think it's a great survey to consider right now.
okay, we'll flush it out and I'll send it out for further review.
Great, thank you. Scott, how long do you need for progress assessment?
Oh, no more than an hour.
I gave you a, would you work with,
No, we can get through pretty quick,
okay.
so. All right, so we are required to do a fraud risk assessment per the state auditor's office, and it's one of the checklists that we go through with our auditors every year so that they can verify that we're complying with that. Excuse me, the checklist goes through and a number of things that determine what kind of a risk we have in terms of internal control within the city. The one area that we don't get full points on, and we've gone through this in the past, is we don't have a formal audit function within the city. A city our size, this really doesn't make sense to have a formal audit function because we don't have enough transactions or points of risk where it warrants having a full, formal function. You have to get probably, pushing $100 million area of budget before and have multiple areas of where you're collecting and dispersing money in order to really get to that. So we typically, you can get a total of 395 points. We typically earn 375. That's where we've gone. And so you can see what it looks like. This is the fraud risk assessment. I did notice when I pulled it up today, I had not wrote in the 375 up here, so I did that. But we got 375 out of 95, 395, and that puts us at a very low risk level. And you can see as we go down through here, as we do different things, some are requirements on the finance staff, some are requirements on various city staff, some are requirements on you as a council. One of the things for you as a council is that you're trained. Number 5 here says have all governing body members completed entity specific training. And there is training that needs to be completed on a 4-year rotational basis. And on that and stuff. And I believe that we're going to more formally incorporate that into make sure that everybody, is up to speed on that. But we've been up to speed on that and so on and so forth. This is the number 8 is the line where we don't currently meet that because we don't have that internal control function or internal audit function, I mean. And then on this section here, the only area where we don't have they can't, I'll just offer a full yes, are the people who are able to collect cash or cash payments different from all the people who are able to adjust customer accounts. And we have mitigating controls. And what that means is we have 2 people that are required to go in and do that, although people can go in and change customer accounts. It does take 2 people to do that. But it does involve the people who are taking cash. Again, in smaller cities, we have 3 financial staff, and then there are about 3 or so, maybe 4 people who accept payments regularly in the front desk, and then occasionally for events, and her team accept payments. So anyhow, that's kind of the dynamic of this. I don't have any concerns about it, but do you have any questions? Internal controls.
I think we do a good job.
Yeah, I like that it's assessed and that we can see it. So thank you for
Yeah.
presenting it to us.
Thanks, Scott. Okay, quick review of calendars and upcoming events. Friday, October 10th. From 6:30 to 9 here at City Hall, we have a special effects Halloween makeup workshop. It's open to community members and there is a cost of $20 and it's age 14 and up. Wednesday, October 15th from 1:30 to 2:30 here at City Hall is another senior social. What are we doing this month?
It's department heads are gonna be doing a Q&A.
Q&A, okay, great. Friday, October 24th from 5 to 7 at the Cumberland Heights Rec Center is the Monster Mash. Friday, October 31st from 3 to 4 at City Hall in the parking lot will be our trunk or treat. November 17th through January 5th is going to be the winter lobby art display. Monday, December 1st from 5 to 7:30 in City Hall will be the lights. And then Saturday, December 6th, from 7:30 to 9 at Butler Middle School is the Christmas concert with the Eclipse 6. We do not have anything to discuss in a closed meeting, so I'll entertain a motion to close our work session. And into our CDRA.
I'll make the motion to close our work session and enter into our CDRA meeting.
Oh, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, we're gonna try to start in 5. We're gonna need to go do our vote.
That's gonna ask Shane, this is advertised in this room, can we do the business set portion in this room as well? 'Cause I think it was
Oh,
advertised
okay.
here.
I
so-
thought whenever we voted,
I
we
don't
could go there.
No.
Okay.
Since it was advertised